All right, get ready because today we're doing a deep dive into turmeric. We're going way beyond that golden latte trend, though. We're talking about turmeric, the ancient root with a super long history of medicinal uses. I mean, we're talking millennia here.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you see this spice just sitting on your spice rack, and now modern science is really starting to study it. There's actually research going on exploring the potential for turmeric to treat all kinds of things, like inflammation,
Hmm.
even cancer.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of research articles right here ready to dig into, and some marketing materials too. I guess you could say our mission today is to figure out what science really knows about the benefits of turmeric, like what makes it tick, and of course what it all means for you.
It's a long journey, that's for sure. From ancient spice to, well, modern medicine. I don't know if you knew this, but turmeric has been used medicinally since, get this, prehistorical times. It's been a staple in traditional Chinese and Indian medicine for ages.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Something so common that we just have sitting in our kitchen has such deep roots, literally. But, okay, I have to admit, sometimes I'm a little skeptical about all the hype around turmeric these days. Is it really some kind of miracle cure? Or is it just clever marketing?
It's good to be skeptical. But while turmeric isn't exactly a miracle cure, modern science is catching up to what traditional medicine has known for a long time. I think it's all about understanding the specific compounds in turmeric and what the research actually shows.
Okay, so let's break it down. What is it about turmeric that makes it so special?
Well, one of the key things is the curcuminoids. Those are the compounds that give turmeric that bright yellow color. And while curcumin is the most well-known curcuminoid, there are actually others, like dimethoxycurcumin and bisdimethoxycurcumin, and each of those has unique properties.
Wait, so it's more than just curcumin. I had no idea.
Yep. And the research that's been done suggests these different curcuminoids actually work together. They act as antioxidants, which means they protect your cells from damage. Plus, they've got anti-inflammatory properties, which is why you hear people talking about turmeric for conditions like arthritis.
Right, that makes sense. But there's one thing about turmeric that I've always found a little confusing. Turmeric is often used in desserts and sweet treats, but there's research that says it might actually help manage diabetes. How does that work?
That's a great observation. It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But studies suggest that curcumin may actually help to regulate blood sugar. It seems to do that by influencing certain enzymes and hormones that are involved in glucose metabolism. It really just goes to show that food can be complex. Sometimes what we think we know is challenged by what science is discovering.
Okay, that is fascinating. I'm starting to see why there's so much buzz around turmeric. Now, one thing I've read about is curcumin's potential in fighting cancer. What's the latest on that?
Researchers are really diving deep into curcumin's effects on various cancers, like colorectal cancer, for example. And what they're finding is that it seems to disrupt multiple pathways that are involved in cancer cell growth. Some studies even suggest that curcumin may even enhance the effects of things like chemotherapy and radiation.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. But I know there's also been some debate about how well our bodies can actually absorb curcumin.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely a challenge. You'd have to eat a lot of curry to get a therapeutic dose. But the good news is scientists are coming up with some innovative approaches to address that, things like nanoparticles, mitalization, and even using tiny little envelopes called exosomes to deliver curcumin more effectively.
So they're basically finding ways to sneak it into our systems. That's clever. But I'm curious, what are the pros and cons of those different approaches? And how does all that translate to actual products you can buy?
Those are great questions, and we're definitely going to dig into those next. It's important to understand the science behind these solutions and how they're being applied to help us get the most out of this ancient root. So you were curious about the pros and cons of these different approaches for getting curcumin absorbed better.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing to know they exist, but how do they actually work? And are there downsides to all these fancy solutions?
Let's start with nanoparticles. Basically, you can think of them as tiny little delivery trucks. They encapsulate the curcumin and protect it from breaking down in the digestive system. That means more curcumin reaches the bloodstream. And potentially that means it's more effective.
Okay, so it's like they're giving the curcumin a little suit of armor to help it make it through the digestive system, right?
That's a great analogy. But like any technology, nanoparticles do come with potential downsides. Some researchers are concerned about the long-term safety and the impact on the environment, too. So we need more research to really understand the implications.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's important to keep the bigger picture in mind. So what about micellization? That sounds pretty complicated.
It is, but the concept is actually pretty simple. Basically, micellization uses special molecules to make curcumin more soluble in water. Think of it like adding soap to greasy dishes. The soap helps break down the grease so it can mix with the water.
Ah, so it's like giving curcumin a makeover, making it
Mhm.
more water-friendly so our bodies can absorb it easier.
Exactly. And what's great about micellization is that it's generally considered a safe and established technology. I mean, it's already being used in lots of different medications and food products.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, what about those exosomes? Those sound straight out of a science fiction movie.
Not quite sci-fi, but they are cutting edge. Exosomes are these tiny vesicles that occur naturally in our bodies, and our cells use them to communicate with each other. But researchers have figured out how to load them up with curcumin. It's like hijacking the body's own delivery system.
Wow, so it's like using our own internal mail service to deliver the curcumin exactly where it needs to go.
Exactly. And because exosomes are natural, they're less likely to cause any kind of immune reaction, which means they could be a safer and more effective way to deliver curcumin.
Okay, so it sounds like each approach has its pluses and minuses. But with all these high-tech solutions popping up, does that mean my turmeric latte is becoming a thing of the past?
Not at all. While these new delivery systems are exciting, traditional methods are still great. Enjoying turmeric in your food or in drinks like your latte is a delicious way to get it into your daily routine.
It's good to hear. I do love a good turmeric latte. But let's get back to the research for a minute. We've talked about curcumin's potential for fighting cancer, managing diabetes, and reducing inflammation. What other things is this wonder spice good for?
One area that's getting a lot of attention is turmeric's effect on the gut microbiota. All those microorganisms that live in our digestive tracts.
Right, like a whole ecosystem inside of us.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that turmeric, particularly curcumin, seems to have prebiotic effects.
Prebiotics. Isn't that the stuff that feeds the good bacteria in our gut?
That's it. So curcumin not only has its own benefits, but it also helps nourish those beneficial bacteria in our gut.
So it's like a two-for-one deal. Improving our health and helping the good bacteria in our gut.
You got it. It's a win-win. And a healthy gut microbiota is linked to all kinds of benefits. Better digestion, stronger immunity, even better mental health.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
It seems like turmeric really is a multitasker, working on all these different levels to keep us healthy.
Yeah.
But how do scientists even study how turmeric affects something as complex as the gut microbiota?
Well, one of the most common ways is through, well, fecal analysis.
Hold on. You mean they're studying poop?
Yeah. It might not sound very glamorous, but analyzing poop actually tells us a lot about what's going on in the gut microbiota. Researchers can see what types of bacteria are there, how many there are, and how diverse the whole gut ecosystem is.
Okay, so it's like taking a snapshot of what's happening inside the gut.
Exactly. And by comparing the gut microbiota of people who consume turmeric to those who don't, researchers can figure out what turmeric is doing to our guts.
So what are they finding? Are there any signs that turmeric is making a difference?
There are. A bunch of studies have shown that turmeric can increase the amount of beneficial bacteria in the gut. Basically, it's helping to make the gut a healthier, more balanced place.
That's great news. It seems like taking care of our gut health is a big focus these days.
It's true. We're finally realizing how important that gut-brain connection is and how important the gut microbiota is for our overall health. And turmeric seems to be a great way to support that.
This is all so fascinating. But I have to be honest, all this talk about bacteria and ecosystems is making my head spin a little. Can we bring this back down to earth for a second? What are some signs that our gut might be out of whack and could use a little turmeric love?
That's a great question. We can't actually see our gut bacteria, but our bodies often give us clues when things aren't quite right in there.
Like what? Should I be, inspecting what comes out?
You could. And it's definitely important to pay attention to any changes in bowel movements. But there are other signs of an unhappy gut, too. Things like digestive discomfort, bloating, gas, even heartburn.
So if I'm dealing with those things regularly, it could be a sign that my gut needs some TLC.
It could be. And remember, gut health is connected to everything else in our bodies. So when your gut is unhealthy, it can show up in all sorts of ways. A weaker immune system, skin problems, mood swings, even problems with thinking clearly.
Wow, okay, I didn't realize it could affect so much. It really does show how important it is to take care of our gut.
Absolutely. And turmeric, with its prebiotic and anti-inflammatory properties, can really help with that.
This has been so insightful. I'm really starting to understand why everyone in the scientific community is so excited about turmeric.
It is remarkable, isn't it? This simple spice that people have been using for centuries in cooking and traditional medicine is now being validated by modern science in all these amazing ways.
It's like we're rediscovering the power of nature, one spice at a time. Speaking of discoveries, I was reading about some research on turmeric's potential in treating colorectal cancer.
Ah, yes. That's a really promising area of research. Scientists are particularly interested in curcumin's ability to, well, modulate gene expression.
Hold on, gene expression, that sounds a bit complicated.
It is, but think of our genes as blueprints that tell our cells how to function. Gene expression is the process of those instructions being turned on or off, and that affects everything, from how cells grow to when they die.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get it. So curcumin can actually influence which genes are activated. That's pretty amazing.
It is. And when it comes to cancer, this ability to modulate gene expression is really exciting. Research suggests that curcumin can actually stop genes that make cancer cells grow, and it can turn on genes that kill cancer cells.
So it's like curcumin is hacking into the cancer cells
Hmm.
and reprogramming them.
That's a great way to think about it. And this ability to target lots of different pathways at the same time is what makes curcumin so promising as a potential cancer treatment.
This is incredible. But with all these potential benefits, one question keeps popping up in my mind. How much turmeric do I actually need to eat to see these benefits? Is a sprinkle on my food enough? Or do I need to be taking supplements?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's the one we're going to dive into next. Dosage is so important because it connects what's possible to what actually happens. But like a lot of things with health and wellness, there's not a single answer that works for everyone.
So we've talked about all these amazing potential benefits of turmeric, but like you said, dosage is a big question. How much do we need to actually take to reap those benefits?
Right, dosage is super important. It really bridges the gap between what turmeric can potentially do and what actually happens in our bodies. But the thing is, there isn't a magic number that works for everyone. It really depends on a lot of factors.
Like what kind of factors?
Well, things like your age, your overall health, what you're taking turmeric for, even your genetics can play a role.
Okay, that makes sense. Everyone is different, so their turmeric intake should probably be different too. So where do we even begin?
A good place to start is just incorporating turmeric into your diet regularly. I'd say aim for about a teaspoon a day.
A teaspoon, okay.
You can sprinkle it on roasted veggies, stir it into soups, add it to smoothies.
Oh, what about those turmeric lattes? Those count, right?
Absolutely. And remember, combining turmeric with a little bit of fat, like coconut milk or ghee, can help your body absorb it better.
Right, that little trick. But what about people who are looking for a more concentrated dose of curcumin? Like maybe they're dealing with a specific health issue or they're just not a big fan of the taste of turmeric. What about supplements?
Turmeric supplements are definitely an option. They offer a standardized and potent dose of curcuminoids. However, it's really important to choose high-quality supplements from reputable brands.
So do your research, basically.
Exactly. Look for supplements that have been third-party tested for purity and potency. And if you're looking for maximum absorption, those advanced formulations we talked about earlier, like the ones using nanoparticles or micelles, can be worth looking into.
Yeah, those definitely sound interesting. But with all these different options, it can be hard to know where to start.
I agree. If you're thinking about using turmeric therapeutically, it's always best to talk to your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional. They can help you figure out the right dose and form of turmeric for you, considering your individual needs and any potential interactions with medications you might be taking.
That's really good advice. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of natural remedies, but it's important to remember that they can be powerful and should be treated with caution.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive, I wanted to bring up something you mentioned earlier. You were wondering if by focusing so much on curcumin absorption, we might be missing out on some of the benefits of other compounds in turmeric.
Yes, that's been in the back of my mind this whole time. Turmeric is so complex, and I can't help but wonder if, by zeroing in on just curcumin, we're overlooking the potential synergy of all the other components.
It's a great question, and one that researchers are exploring. While isolating and concentrating curcumin definitely allows for more targeted therapeutic uses, there's a lot of research going on right now looking into the benefits of whole turmeric root.
So it's about finding that balance, right? Harnessing the power of certain compounds, but also respecting the whole plant and its natural complexity.
Exactly. And maybe there's something to be said for those traditional ways of using turmeric, incorporating it into our food, enjoying its flavor and color, appreciating it as both food and medicine.
I love that. It's a good reminder that food can be medicine, and that nature often holds the answers we're looking for.
Couldn't agree more. This has been such a fascinating deep dive into the world of turmeric, from its ancient history to the cutting edge of modern research.
It's incredible how much we've learned about this simple spice,
Hmm.
and it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Well, that's the beauty of science, isn't it? There's always more to discover.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our turmeric adventure, at least for now.
Until next time, may your food be both delicious and nourishing.
And may you always approach the world of natural remedies with curiosity, respect, and an open mind.